Hello everyone, and welcome to this new project I've decided to start working on. Before we begin, I want to put a warning here at the start. This video series will be covering some disturbing content from the dark depths of the internet, so be aware that some sensitive subjects are going to be featured. If you are sensitive to topics like stalking, swatting, or family violence, you might not want to be here. Now that we've got that warning out of the way, let's move on. And thank you for joining. I want to try and remain as neutral as possible while covering this case, but at times it's going to be hard. With how crazy this story gets, and due to the motivations of the parties involved on either side, I've decided to warn you that parts of this video are going to be my opinion. At times it might not match other people's interpretation of what happened, and this is a very heated subject for a lot of people. Because of the politics and tensions involved, it will be hard to navigate these topics. But I hope you know I intend to tell this story in the most honest way possible, because I believe sunlight serves as the most effective disinfectant, and this story is not only deserving of exposure, but fair coverage. This story is quite the rabbit hole, and there's a lot to decipher here, so please keep that in mind. Let's move forward. The subject of today's video, and the ones to come, is a controversial online figure named Patrick S. Tomlinson. From his website, which features a pineapple icon, Patrick S. Tomlinson lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with his wife, a menagerie of houseplants in varying levels of health, a Mustang and a Triumph motorcycle bought specifically to embarrass and infuriate Harley riders. Patrick's books swing wildly from hard-scrabble murder mysteries to mil-spec to the completely ridiculous, but always wrapped in colorful sci-fi trappings. When not writing sci-fi and fantasy novels and short stories, Patrick is busy developing his other passion, writing and performing stand-up comedy in the Madison, Milwaukee, and Chicago scenes. When not doing either of those things, he can occasionally be found starting enormous fights on Twitter. Follow him at Stealthy Geek if you dare. Tomlinson's portrayal here appears quite ordinary initially. He's an author based in Milwaukee, dabbles in stand-up comedy, enjoys cars and bikes, and tends to engage in Twitter disputes. Despite this seemingly typical profile, a different statement on the webpage hints at a deeper aspect of his character. If you are trying to reach me on Twitter, my only handle is at Stealthy Geek. All other accounts are imposters and should be treated as such. Believe it or not, this short line gives us insight into what Patrick's daily routine looks like. As we'll soon observe, Patrick has, whether intentionally or not, devoted a significant part of his life to cultivating an online presence, primarily on the social media platform Twitter. However, this presence is not entirely positive. In this video, we'll explore how a social media addiction, a penchant for conflicts, and a tumultuous series of life events can transform a minor online disagreement into a consuming force that shapes an entire individual's existence. This is the tale of a man who, regrettably, saw his life take a downward spiral due to Twitter. If you've spent any amount of time online, you likely already know how ubiquitous internet trolling can be. Most people have come to expect trolls and people interested in drama to be lurking in every comment section and social media platform. These people are seeking a reaction from their fellow internet users, and typically resort to crude and provocative language or behavior to incite responses. It's pretty common knowledge that engaging with trolls like this is a bad idea, because it encourages them to continue provoking and spreading negativity. Responding to their antics often fuels their desire for attention, leading to a perpetuation of disruptive behavior. In most cases of internet trolling, the trolling usually ends as soon as the subject stops responding, or the troll otherwise gets bored by the interaction. Most people see these type of online exchanges as nothing more than a nuisance that will end if they are ignored. But what if someone, due to some odd reason, came to seek this kind of abuse online? What if, through some twisted line of thought, they figured the engagement and attention and victimhood status from being trolled and attacked online could be exploited in order to gain wealth or fame. Let's flash back to 2018, to where this supposedly all started. Patrick Tomlinson, who previously had dabbled in stand-up to little success, wrote a tweet on September 11th about legendary comedian Norm Macdonald. In the tweet, Tomlinson wrote about his distaste for the comedian and how he didn't find him funny. Due to Norm Macdonald's legendary status in the world of stand-up comedy, this tweet faced backlash. And according to Patrick, this was the day it all started. The day the OpieAndAnthony subreddit discovered him and began their campaign to kill him and his family. The day he became the target of an international, illegally bankrolled conspiracy to silence him and get him killed. All because of one single tweet. But how much of it was true, and how much was imagined? Over time, the truth only became murkier, and Patrick's claims grew wilder. What we know for sure is Patrick provoked a lot of people with his Norm Macdonald tweet, and the replies that followed. It's not clear why, but Patrick also began to act increasingly antagonistic towards other people on Twitter, regularly getting into slap fights, exchanging insults, and making threats towards a variety of trolls and critics. At this same time, a subreddit by the name of OpieAndAnthony had began to take notice of Patrick's hostility towards Norm Macdonald and his fans. Users quickly became invested in the saga, with many rebuking Patrick's attack against Norm fans by criticizing Patrick's own stand-up comedy and the offbeat sense of humor he demonstrated in his Twitter posts.
Slayer of Chickens, how are we doing tonight, Madison? Woo! Tepid applause, excellent. Well, some good news for everybody. Donald Trump pulled us out of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. Woo!
With an increased number of watchers and an increasingly hostile tone appearing in Patrick's posts, it would not take long for things to reach a boiling point. This would all culminate with the suspension of Patrick's Twitter, an incident he would not soon forget. As an aspiring author, Patrick had grown to rely on Twitter to spread the word about his novels and try to bring new readers into the fray using his Twitter antics and attempts at viral tweets. Following this suspension, Patrick's psyche was deeply injured. Still posting on Facebook to a much smaller audience, Tomlinson sought the attention and engagement he previously received on Twitter, but didn't receive the same notice on other platforms. Although defeated on Twitter, Tomlinson continued to post and seek attention online. At some point, as a result of his Twitter being taken down, he began posting on the OpieAndAnthony subreddit from his personal Reddit account, attacking users and accusing them of unfairly reporting his Twitter, so it would be suspended. This soon grew into a vicious regular back and forth, with Patrick responding to hundreds of Reddit comments a day. With no Twitter page to maintain, Patrick resorted to long-winded Reddit fights against OpieAndAnthony trolls to satiate his need for attention. Though it would take months for him to tire of this, he began to seek alternatives. Going back to Facebook for a brief period, Patrick even started a new Twitter account where he pretended to be his own cat and claimed he was not Patrick, but one of his fans. Reading this strange exchange gives us a deeper look at what Patrick was thinking around this time, and how he felt about his own online presence and the impact it was having. Dietrich Chelius said, quote, "You are literally hiding behind an account as your cat because you got banned on your main account and have an addiction to Twitter, and you even lie about it being fan-run." Patrick, posing as his cat Robert Mewler, responded, quote, "Nope, sorry, but your continued obsession with Patrick has been noted, almost like you're addicted." Chelius responds, asking, quote, "You post the exact same content as him in the exact same cadence and writing style. Who would make a parody account of a banned user's cat besides the banned user?" Patrick replies, quote, "Me, one of his tens of thousands of followers, who feels his voice was important. You don't have any followers and no one cares about anything you have to say. So I understand it must seem strange to you." Chelius then points out the obvious. Quote, "Patrick used to call out follower count too. You're the only one who cares about that, Patrick. If's why you're back on here pretending to be a cat instead of accepting your ban." Patrick claps back. Quote, "Yes, he did, and for good reason. You're a troll account, likely a sock puppet with no followers and nothing to say. That should be called out. I know you really want to talk to Patrick, because you're obsessed, but you'll have to settle for me." So taking a step back, this exchange is pretty revealing. Patrick seems to see himself as an important voice on social media and believes he has, quote, tens of thousands of fans concerned about his absence on Twitter. He just takes such a smug, condescending tone here that it's hard to sympathize with him. To think Patrick believed he could pass off these kind of statements while pretending to be some kind of super fan comes off as a bit egotistical in my opinion. It also goes to show how invested in feeding the trolls Patrick is. He uses the word addiction to deride Chelius, but it seems that at this point, Patrick had grown equally addicted to these sorts of interactions, if not more so. This is supported by the fact there are countless pages upon pages of Reddit comments of Patrick clashing with various trolls. There comes a point where any reasonable person would back away and realize what a massive waste of time this all was. Unfortunately, Patrick never had that moment of clarity. Sometime during that period in late 2018, something in Patrick would make him decide that this was worth dedicating every fiber of his being towards fighting. And while this may very well have been a noble cause, Patrick had no idea just how damaging, humiliating, and destructive the next 6 years of his life would be due to this decision. Around this time, Patrick began working behind the scenes to regain his original Twitter account. Eventually, Tomlinson found a way to restore his Twitter account, but it came with a cost. Patrick ultimately had to pay attorney Carrie Goldberg over $5,000. In exchange, she contacted Twitter's corporate office and pressured them to restore Patrick's Twitter account. After a short bit of pleading, Goldberg's request was granted, and Twitter restored Tomlinson's Twitter account. I'm sure you may have guessed by now, but things didn't end there. And in the grand scheme of things to come, this $5,000 payout was just a drop in the bucket for Patrick. Little did he know, he would be losing much more in the future. This $5,000 fee he paid was, unbeknownst to him, one of the smaller losses he would take when it was all said and done. He had no way of knowing that his dedication to Twitter would end up costing him his sanity, his security, and many more tens of thousands of dollars. Money that we're going to soon see would end up being paid directly to one of his worst trolls. Truly, by the end of this, his life would even be endangered once or twice due to the insane actions of a twisted and psychotic individual. I'm sorry to leave you on a cliffhanger, but I'm afraid that's all that we can cover today. But know that this story is nowhere near being over. The worst and most shocking is yet to come. In the next episode, we're going to dive into the next phase of Tomlinson's war with the trolls. A saga of book reviews, lawsuit schemes, and a web forum that rose from the ashes of r/OpieAndAnthony. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next video.